I was bullied by my sister for 20 years and mom blames me for not wanting to make up. Hi, this is my first time posting here. And also, English is not my first language, so forgive me for any mistakes and grammatical errors. I was severely bullied by my eldest sister since I was a kid until I got into college, consistently for around 20 years or so. I'm currently at my parents' place since I'm recuperating for an injury on my lower back. On Saturday, my sister was home for a break, and for the nth time, my mom pushed me again to make up with her. Whenever my mom brings this up, I would usually just say no thanks, and express my reluctance since my sister didn't even show any initiative to apologize. But at that moment, I don't know what got into me, I just couldn't keep my mouth shut any longer. I told her I refused to, that I am deeply traumatized by all the bullying, and that it affects my self-esteem, my trust and my relationship with other people. All 3 of my previous relationships failed, and my current one is also in danger. Only spoke to her sporadically for the past 3 months, but that's a story for another day, partly due to my underlying issues. I used to be outgoing as a kid, but as I grew up, I became distant and distrustful of the people around me. I told her that it's all because of all the bullying. How could I trust other people when my own sister treats me like a worthless vermin? My mom kept pushing and guilt-tripping me, saying it's wrong of me for breaking a relationship with my sibling. That's when something inside of me broke, and I flew into a rage. I yelled at her. I asked her, why is it my fault for breaking a relationship that wasn't even there in the first place? Why is the person being bullied is being held accountable for not wanting to forgive and make up, when the perpetrator didn't even feel remorse or apologize? Why didn't you protect me from my sister while I was growing up? Am I that unimportant to you that there's no value in protecting your own son? But she kept going on and on about forgiveness, about the importance of keeping a relationship with your siblings. Didn't even try to calm me down or saying it's not my fault. It's been 5 days since, and I'm still not on talking terms with my parents. I feel trapped and abandoned. My own parents don't even sympathize with what I went through. I don't expect it to be solved cause my parents just wouldn't change their ways, I know them. I just needed a place to vent. Comment. I feel you, I really do. A very hard pill to swallow for me was, you can't make people see it your way. My brother has threatened and tried to do me in multiple times. But my mother doesn't think he's dangerous. And my brother feels no need to apologize for his behavior. So I really do get your position. The best thing you can do is, get a therapist and leave those people in the past. Tell your parents this too. Your sister is in your past and you are not interested in reopening any wounds. Set firm boundaries, you aren't reconciling with her ever. Keep on repeating that and only that. Don't explain or defend yourself. You will not change your mother's mind. The only person who can do that is her. It is not worth your effort. You deserve to put your energy in the present. Focus on your relationship. And I know this is hard, but sometimes not being on speaking terms is good. It will show your parents to leave sleeping dogs lie if they want a relationship with you. I wish you best of luck. Tell your parents that they failed to protect you from their evil spawn and they ought to be asking for forgiveness as well. Tell them you're not going to forgive anyone who doesn't apologize and ask for forgiveness, including them. You need to go home and find a therapist to unpack all the issues you have due to your family. I'm so sorry. Is there anyone else who would put you up while you recuperate? If not, then yeah, this is probably as soon as you can leave, do it and then block your parents kind of situation. Because holy shit, your sister who was 15 years older than you harassed you when for pretty much all of your life she was old enough to know better. And your parents just enabled it? Your parents have failed to protect you and they clearly failed to instill proper discipline on your sister. When a family, or friend group, has one toxic asshole in it who keeps victimizing someone else and they care more about maintaining the status quo than they do about doing what's right, They have a tendency to harass the victim to forgive the victimizer because it's just easier. After all, the victim is usually reasonable, and the aggressor usually isn't. Trying to get your sister to behave would be too much work, so instead your family just lazily wants you to tolerate it so things can go back to the status quo for them. It's easier to bully a victim into putting up with outrageous behavior than it is to convince a person engaged in outrageous behavior to stop, and if your family is so lazy and self-centered that all they care about is making the situation comfortable for themselves, then targeting you to harass into forgiveness is much less work than trying to fix whatever the hell is wrong with your sister. I'm glad you blew up, it needed to be said. They need to understand that your sister and your mom are the reason you don't have a relationship with your sister. None of this was by your choice, you simply reacted to the things that happened around you. Next story 2. Seeing my ex after 8 years and feeling angry. I would appreciate some perspective here. Sorry, this might be unnecessarily long. I, 33F, just saw my ex, 36M, on the street. The last time I saw him was 8 years ago. We had a long-distance relationship at that point for about a year, but had been together for 5, and lived together for 4 of them. He broke up with me via Skype, to be with another girl. Needless to say, I was upset. For a while. A long while. A couple of years after the event, I felt like I was over him and reached out to see if we could be friends. I didn't want him to stay this person who just disappeared. I wanted to normalize the situation. He said that it was not a good idea. Since then, we had no contact. I felt like I had been erased, Eternal Sunshine's way. I stopped loving him a while back, but could never get over the feeling of loss. I could never get over receiving a call and have the most important person in my life disappear and never wanting to contact me again. Because, yes, he was the most important person in my whole entire world. I ended up meeting and settling with a nice man, with whom I have a wonderful daughter. I like my life. I did not even know my ex was living in the city I am in. When we were together, none of us lived there. Seeing him today, I felt so much anger. It took me by surprise. I would have thought I'd be completely fine with it, and able to wish him happiness. But this was absolutely not the case. I was not okay. I wanted to either yell at him or run away. He said hi, and something mundane about walking in the park with the kids, and I tried not to punch him. It took all I had. Then smiled, nodded, and walked away, feeling awkward and mad. I thought I was a bigger person than this. I might run into him again. And I want this to be better. I also want to be a better human that does not carry these kinds of feelings in my heart. So my questions. What can I do to feel better about this? Why do I feel so many things? I mean, come on. It's been 8 years. Comment. It's normal to feel anger when you meet someone who hurt you, especially when you didn't get the closure you felt like you deserve. Just know that it's a you issue. Something you have to work through, and don't let your current relationship take strain. This the advice to follow. Those telling you that you're not over the ex are mistaken. The anger is normal. Just focus on the now and forget the guy who doesn't matter anymore. I ended up meeting and settling with a nice man? Didn't fall in love? I would suggest discussing your feelings with a therapist. This post sounds like you are not over ex and filled the void with new guy. This triggered the feelings of loss you felt and you went back to that scary place. This person was your everything. But, and it's a big but, he wasn't right for you. It ended up one-sided, and if you're being honest, you wasted your time on the wrong guy. Sometimes we project what we want to onto these people and make them out to be the people with the potential they never really had. You have let this person go and you reacted the right way. Next time just walk right past him, like you never knew him. I can relate. My ex and I broke up after 3 years in 2011. We tried friendship at one point, but it was just too hard for both of us. He wanted to either get back together or move on. I decided to move on, which was very hard for me. For the next year I would struggle with that decision. It wasn't a perfect relationship by any means. I do think that we were two people who loved each other, but we just weren't meant to be. I moved on and eventually married my current partner 4 years later. We did not keep in contact or keep tabs on each other. I cut contact with mutual friends over time because I could not bear to hear a single thing about him, even though I was happily involved with my future partner. I was told that he felt the same way, so it never tempted me to reach out. It has been 12 years and I have these really stressful dreams about him from time to time. They will at the very least cause me mild stress or completely ruin my day in some cases. I can't even imagine running into him unexpectedly in the real world. I think I would puke or also want to punch him. Even though I'm not a violent person, I laughed at that feeling so hard up, because I totally get it. I think there are just some relationships that really leave a mark on us, no matter how happy we are in our life. It's that out of sight, out of mind object permanence sort of thing. You don't see this person on the regular anymore and it's easier to forget about those shitty feelings over time. Seeing someone after a long amount of time in a surprise scenario would undoubtedly trigger some sort of emotions for anyone. Grief and anger will appear, unfortunately, when we least expect it. It doesn't mean I don't love my current partner, or my life. Let yourself feel the feels, it will eventually pass. Do you have anyone you feel safe with discussing these feelings and interaction with? I find when I'm able to let out my thoughts and emotions, I feel relieved. If you don't feel comfortable taking to someone about it, I think journaling or writing down all of what you're feeling could be helpful. You can always throw it away when you are finished.